Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luca. I'm an AI experimenter, and today I'm going to show you how to build a customer service automated workflow using Zapier. And this is what it looks like as the final version. So, really quickly, first there's a new form response, which will be done through Google Sheets. So, if the customer has an issue, then they'll fill out this with the customer name, email, the actual issue they have, and the potential file upload if they actually have additional context for the customer agent to look through. Next, once they submit that response, then that will be input into our Google Sheets here for data for the future. And then from there, we're going to get Chatgpt to analyze that actual response and write a email, which will then be sent to our inbox. So that being said, before we get to this point, let's actually build this out. So for context, for Zapier, and for all of the automation platforms, there's something called triggers and actions. So triggers is basically, think about how there's a firework, you have to light the firework. And when you light the firework, that is the trigger that sets off the firework to explode. So that explosion then leads to the corresponding actions. And the action is the firework actually exploding. So the trigger for this case, as you saw earlier, is going to be Google Forms, trigger event, new form response, because whatever a new form is submitted, it will then be input into our Google Sheets, which you'll see in 2 seconds. So form value, it's going to be the form I just showed you, which is this one. We'll continue. We're then going to test this out. So test the trigger, see if it works. It does, but it needs data. So we're going to actually just fill this out again, just to show you from top to bottom. Luca. Okay, submit. Okay, then we're going to basically find new records is basically just reloading the different submission responses. Here we go. Continue to select the record. We're going to go to Google Sheets. As you saw, we have a table ready. So an action event is because every time there's a submission, we want to basically add new rows to that table. So what we're going to do here is then create a spreadsheet row. My account's already embedded into there. A spreadsheet. It's the one I showed you here. Worksheet. There's no other worksheet, so sheet one. And then we're going to input all the dynamic values here. So customer name, Luca, email, AI Find Nomad, my very secret email, issue description here. And then even though we don't have a file upload for this submission, for future submissions, other customers might. So I'm going to put that here. And we're going to test this again. Okay, we're not going to publish it yet though, because then we're going to actually click on this other feature called delay. And the reason why we're going to click delay is because when we become a super mega corporation, we're going to have a lot of customers, and unfortunately, there's also going to be a lot of customer complaints. But if we basically input all the information to the systems, like all the customer complaints into Google Sheets really quickly into ChatGPT, which we're going to get to next, it's going to overload the system and the automation is going to completely collapse. So what we're going to do here is going to click delay. We're going to delay it for a certain amount of time. And in a real company, we're going to actually delay it for longer periods. Maybe it might be a 5-minute interval, 10 minutes, or even an hour. But for the cost of this video, we're just going to put 1 minute. So you put the 1 minute there, so one, and then the unit is minutes, hours, days, weeks here. We're going to click minutes. And then we're going to test the step. It works. Then let's go to add step here. And this is where the AI part of it comes in. So ChatGPT. We're going to put, in this case, we're going to put conversation. So there's actually many different things, but we're going to put conversation as the action here. So basically, ChatGPT is going to get the response from Google Sheets and then going to analyze it and then write a quick email telling the user how to solve their problem. So conversation, account, It's going to be weird at first. Oh, darn it, it doesn't work. So what do we do? So basically, most people know ChatGPT as an app that basically does everything on the front end. That's a consumer app. If you're a developer, for example, you want to build automations like this or build an app that requires different apps on the back end talking to each other, you're then going to need something called an API key. So an API key stands for Application Processing Interface. So layman's terms, just two apps talking to each other, and the key is basically that link between the two apps. So in our case, this API key is going to be the link between ChatGPT and Zapier. So we're going to create a new key. We're going to call it this. If you have multiple projects, there'll be a different option here. You only have one. We're going to create a key, and here's our key. For context, you should never tell anyone this key or film yourself doing this, but by the time you see this video, it's going to be completely deleted. And the reason why you got to keep it a secret, especially if you have ongoing automations, is because there's nefarious bad actors out there, and every time you use this key's initiated, it costs money. So if someone is just, being a butthole, they can use that initiate an API key to infinity, and it's going to deplete your bank account and cost you a lot of money. So let's go back here. Let's input the API key, which it should be. Let me just click reconnect this account. I'm going to put the API key here. And then what we're going to do is click yes right there. This is going to load. And it works. So next, we're going to do is then take the user message here, and we're going to go back to new form response by clicking this plus button, going down, and the only thing that's necessary here is the issue description. So then ChatGPT is going to analyze the issue description, and then just so you guys know, before we move on to the next step, it's pretty important that you know the different models. So GPT-4o Mini is basically a light version of GPT-4o, and it costs way less money than GPT-4o, which is LLM. But if you have highly complex processes that need reasoning, then there's O3 Mini, O1. Those cost way more money, so we're not going to use those. So 4o Mini user, we can give it assistant instructions, max tokens. Basically, this is the output. It puts like in its response to the amount, how long the response is, and the longer the response is, the more money it's going to cost. So we're actually going to reduce this to like, I don't know, 600. And then we're going to click continue. We're going to test it out, see if it works. Let's see, it's loading. It works. Here's our response. We can definitely make this more flashy if it's a professional operation, like we're actually talking to customers. Let's definitely make this more flashy, but we don't need to do that for now. And then the last step is go to Gmail. We're going to go to send email. We're going to select our account. And then basically we're going to write email to the customer that filed the complaint. So we're going to go back to new form response. We're going to say the email to this very secret email called the AI Find Nomad. Then we're going to send it from our account here. Subject, here's how to solve your issue. And then for the actual email itself, we're going to put dear, and we're going to put the name. And this name is going to change depending on who wrote the email. So dear Luca, in this case, but it could be Jonathan, Billie Eilish, I don't know, whoever actually writes the complaint. And then what we're going to do here is also put the plus. But remember how we got ChatGPT to create a response? We're actually then going to go to conversation with ChatGPT, go to the bottom, and then the reply. And then we're going to make it seem like it was written by us, Best Luca's personal ventures. And then click continue. We're going to test a step. Okay, now let's see if it actually got sent. It says it got sent. So, oh, you see that +1 up there? Here's how to solve your issue. And then it actually wrote the response, best Lucas Personal Ventures, and we've completed this whole automation. So it literally only took 10 minutes, probably even less, and anyone could do this. So hopefully this helped someone along the way, and I'll see you soon.